We are solving a question from absorption costing, AS level accounting and absorption costing. And this question has come in October, November 24, 21. Question number 4. October, November 24, 21. Question number 4. The first thing that define each term, cost center. Cost center is a department in which the cost has been incurred on the product. Cost center is a department in which cost is incurred on the product. Cost unit. Cost unit is the product on which the cost is incurred. I mean, the product which is going to be manufactured, that is going to be known as cost unit, or the cost charged on a product. That product is called cost unit. Next, direct cost. Direct cost is a cost which becomes the integral part of the product, which is directly attributable to the product and which is directly attributable to the product. Direct cost is becomes the integral part of the product, or which can be traceable from the product. Direct material, direct labor, these are direct costs. Indirect cost is a cost which definitely is not traceable. It does not become the integral part of the product and includes overhead costs like indirect cost, for example, indirect material, indirect labor, depreciation of factory machinery, factory taxes, and so on. Next, the Alberto's business operates a system of absorption costing. There are two production departments, machining and finishing, and two service departments, store and canteen. The budget information for the year ended 30th September is available. Machining, finishing, the store and canteen departments are given. Floor area is given, store requisition, direct labor hours, machine hours, number of employees are given. These are the expenses which are given for the apportionment of overheads. Right? The following indirect overheads have not been apportioned. Light and heat and production supervisor wages. So production department and finishing department, let me write it down. Yeah. Production department, and here I will write service department. There are two production departments, machining and assembly. And there is store and canteen. So let's solve this. This format is already been prepared in your question. आपको ये बनाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, आपका पहले से बना होगा. So let's see how we are going to distribute the overheads. Total column is also given. I'll go with the total also. 512100 allocated overheads. We'll write here total column also. Here, sorry, rather. And here I will write allocated overheads जो already allocated है. And the amount of the allocated overheads are 512100. 512100. Machining, we have an overhead of 195200, 234700, 194200. Sorry, 195200. Then 234700. हाँ जी, बताएं 66400 and 15800. Okay. Now he wants us to allocate these overheads to the different departments. वो हम करते हैं. जी, लाइट एंड हीट है, प्रोडक्शन सुपरवाइजर वेजेस हैं. तो आई विल राइट द नेम फर्स्ट, light and heat. Then there is supervisor wages. You can write some other word also. वो बात क्यों लिखते हैं? जी, तो नेक्स्ट देखते हैं हम. लाइट एंड हीट कितनी बेटा? 12,800. So let me write the total here. 12,800 800 and supervisory wages, the total is 42,000. If given, it is given in the question. Okay, let's move on. So 12,800, 42,000. Now let's move back. Okay, light and heat is supposed to be distributed according to which criteria? Number of employees, floor area, right? Square meter, right? So floor area is through which the light and heat is supposed to be allocated. Let me see. G. So 12,800, 3, 5 is 8,000, 95, 10,000. Okay. So 12,800 into 3,000 over 10,000. What is the amount? 3840. Then 12,800 multiplied by 5,000 over 10,000. 6,400 obviously. Then 12,800 into 1,500 divided by 10,000. 1920. Then 12,800 into 500 divided by 10,000. 6,640. So this is how I have distributed the light and heat. Now I will come with the production supervisor wages. Here comes the little difficult part actually. Most of the students have solved this question that production supervisor wages is supposed to be allocated according to the number of employees. But those number of employees are given for the indirect labor. Those number of employees are basically for indirect wages. Production supervisor wages means that it is a part of the production cost. So production supervisor wages is supposed to be allocated according to the direct labor hours, not according to the number of employees. So we have to allocate it through direct labor hours rather than number of, because supervisory wages is basically related with the production. So that is the important point. Difficult one for the students, obviously, but doesn't mean that you will be able to deduct most of the marks. Maybe 1 mark will be deducted or maximum 2. So production. ये वाले नहीं, they are not given actually, so we are not supposed to count them. तो इसमें अगर आपको टोटल इसके नीचे आया फिर आपने उसको माइनस कितना होगा उसी नंबर के साथ बताना। समझा नहीं क्या कह रहे हैं? देखते हैं आगे, फिर आपको समझ आ जाएगी, कोई बात। अच्छा, डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर्स का टोटल करें, क्या आता है? 14,300 और प्लस 18,500, 32800. Okay, now 42,000 into 14,300 divided by 32800. 42,000 into 14,300 divided by 32,800. 15750 will be distributed to the machining department. Then again, 42,000 into 18,500 divided by 32,800. 42,000 into 18,500 divided by 32,800. How much? 26250. 26250. Okay. Right? Now I will go for the total of these cost overheads. So let's go for the total of all of them. Total ka total is already given in the question. We have available the total of the total column is 566900. That is, I will write here 566900. Baki, if you can tell me. Iska machining 214,790. Yes. 267,350. 68320 16440. Okay, great. Now I'm going to reapportion the cost of canteen. So reapportion canteen. So when we reportion the service department cost to the other departments, we have to make the cost of the canteen nil. So let's see that how the examiner has approached us. Yes, he also has such kind of an attitude, and he has said that you need to reapportion canteen first. So I will reapportion canteen, and a canteen cost will become nil. So 68320. This is nil now, and this will be allocated to the other department through number of employees. This will be distributed through store में कर दिया मैंने, sorry. Canteen is basically 16440, and this has become nil, 16440, and this will be distributed to the other departments through number of employees. So 16440, right? 16440 multiplied by there is a number of employees here. 6, 10, 16 or 4, 20. 6 over 20, 10 over 20, 4 over 20. So let's do that. 6 over 20, 10 over 20, and 4 over 20. 16440 into 6 over 20. 4932. Then 16440 into 10 over 20. 8220. And then 16440 into 4 over 20. 3200. 3288. ये था आपका 16440 into 4 over 20. Okay. Now I will go for the subtotal. Previously, it was not that required. Subtotals were not required, but now they used to ask us the subtotals in the question. So you have to go for a total of this. But a canteen has become nil actually, because service department has no cost. So we will basically distribute their cost to the other departments according to best places given in the question. Total बताएं मशीनिंग का क्या आएगा, जल्दी करें. 219722. फिर आगे फिनिशिंग का 275570. This is a total of 267350 plus 8220. Remember this. Next is 71608. Now I'm going to reapportion the cost of the cost of store. So let's do that. Store cost is 71608. So that will become nil, right? And this will be distributed between the production departments according to store requisition. So the total of store requisition, if we go for the total, that is 54 9,000. So 3600 divided by 9,000 and 5400 divided by 9,000. So let's do it. 71608 into 3600 divided by 9,000. 28643. Then 71608 into 5400 divided by 9,000. 42965. So this is how we are done with the apportionment. और ये क्या हो गया इसमें? जी बिल्कुल करेंगे, क्यों नहीं करेंगे, करेंगे दोबारा टोटल मेरे भाई, क्योंकि आपने उसको नील करना है ना. करें टोटल, ये क्या आ रहा है जी. अब ये आपका टोटल आ जाएगा, बल्कि टोटल का टोटल वही 566900. ये क्या आ जाएगा जी, 248365 318535. और ये आपका हो जाएगा क्या भला, नील. और ये भी आपका ऑलरेडी क्या है जी, नील. तो दिस इज हाउ हमने अपोर्शनमेंट भी किया एंड वी हैव रीपोर्शन भी हमने कॉस्ट कर दी to the other departments according to the our question. Okay, now we have to find the overhead absorption rate. And the formula to calculate the OAR is basically budgeted overhead cost divided by budgeted hours. But hours are supposed to be taken according to the base given. So let's see that what is demanded in the question. So calculated two decimal places, a suitable overhead absorption rate for each production department. If you just look at the question that machining department where machine has been used more than the labor. So we will use machine hours for machining department because it is capital intensive, and labor hour for finishing department because it is labor intensive. 28,900. So here I will write OR 248,365 for overhead absorption cost divided by कितना था 28,900 क्या आता है जी 8.59. So 8.59 per machine hour. So we have calculated that way. Now next is 318,535 divided by labor hours, and the labor hours are total budgeted labor hour 18,500. So what is the OAR for this finishing department? 17.22. So here comes 17.22 per labor hour. This is the overhead. Overheads are supposed to be absorbed according to this basis that we will use calculate overhead absorption rate first, which is based on estimation, budgeted overhead cost calculated for each production department, budget divided by budgeted hours. So machine hours are used in the machining department and labor hours are used in the assembling department, and we have calculated the OAR. Now, whenever you want to find the cost of overhead, we will use this overhead absorption rate will be multiplied with the actual hours to find the absorbed overhead cost. So let's move forward. And what is the next part of the question? The actual results for the year ended 30th September were as follows. Total overheads are given, direct labor machine hours are given. Under over absorption of overheads, he wants us to find for machining and for assembly. Under over absorption means that there is a difference between actual overhead cost and absorbed overhead cost. So we need to calculate both of them. I will write here actual overheads and I will write here absorbed overheads. For absorbed overhead, you need to find the solve the formula also, that the formula is actual hours into OAR. Actual hours multiplied by OAR. So what are the actual hours, actual overhead cost? 249200 for machining. 249200. And absorbed overheads, actual hours, we will take actual machine hours, Ayan. We will not take actual labor hours. If the overhead absorption rate is calculated through machine hours, we will multiply it with actual machine hours. If the overhead absorption rate is calculated through labor hours, we will multiply it with the actual labor hours. So 26880 machine hours are given. So I will write here 26880 multiplied by OAR through machine hour is 8.59 per machine hour. So what is the answer? 230,889. And now I will take the difference of the two. So I will see that absorbed overhead cost is less than actual overhead cost. So the answer is going to be under absorbed for machining department. So what is this now? Under absorbed, because we have to give the recommendation according to the absorbed overhead cost. अगर absorbed overhead cost ज़्यादा है तो over absorbed हो जाएगा, कम है तो under absorbed हो जाएगा. जी 18309 301. Okay. Next, for assembly department, the actual overhead cost is 320,400 given in the question. 320,400. Absorbed overhead cost we have to calculate, that is actual hours into OAR. So actual hours we will use labor hours 18,650. Actual hours are 18,650 multiplied by OAR, which is calculated through labor hours 17.22. So what is the answer? 31153. So what is the difference now? Now you can see that this is going to be over absorbed for assembly. Why? Because absorbed overhead cost in this case is more than the actual overhead cost. What is the difference? 753. Okay. So under absorbed is always unfavorable, right? Because whatever you are expecting, your actual overheads are more than that. And over absorbed is always favorable. That जो आपने तखमीना लगाया था आपके खर्चे उसके अंदर अंदर ही रहेंगे. एक्चुअल खर्चे उसके हमने उसको कंट्रोल किया है. Next is Alberto has been asked to prepare a quotation for a new supply 1200 units of a product. Each unit would require the following: direct material 4 meter at the rate of 3.85 per meter, direct labor machining 0.75 hours, finishing department 1.5 hours, overhead 0.5 direct labor hours, 0.5 machine hour, overhead finishing 1 direct labor hour. The budgeted hours for the year ended 30th September will remain unchanged from the previous year. The total direct labor budget for the year is as follows: machining department 127270, finishing department 183150. Alberta wishes to achieve a gross margin of 40% on the work. Calculate the budgeted hourly direct labor rate for each department. Right? So very simple. We can calculate the budgeted hourly direct labor rate. How, sir? Budgeted overhead cost, budgeted direct labor cost rather for machining is 127270 divided by budgeted labor hours. कितने हैं जी देखें प्रीवियस ईयर के. एक मिनट पीछे जाना पड़ेगा. That is budgeted labor hours are for machining is 14,300 and 18,500. So 14,300 and 18,500. So we can calculate now. Here, I will write 14,300. Can you divide it? And here I will divide it by 18,500. So why we didn't use it? Listen. This is the total direct labor budget, right? So we need to find the direct labor rate, not overhead rate. So machining department की direct labor cost 12720 है. मशीनिंग डिपार्टमेंट में डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर्स कितने लग रहे हैं 14,300. दोनों को सेम से ही डिवाइड करेंगे. डायरेक्ट लेबर की रेट निकाल रहे हैं, ओवरहेड का नहीं निकाल रहे. फिनिशिंग डिपार्टमेंट में 183,150 लेबर कॉस्ट है. वी विल डिवाइड इट विद द लेबर आवर्स, बजटेड लेबर आवर्स व्हिच आर यूज्ड इन द फिनिशिंग डिपार्टमेंट. क्या आता है जी? 8.9 और दिस इज 9.9 per labor hour. Okay. अच्छा गलत है. ओहो, ये वाला 1833 1833 नहीं हो सकता यार. अच्छा ये वाला कह रहे हो आप, समझ गया मैं. ये कह रहे हो आप. हाँ सॉरी, 18331. ओके, थैंक यू. Okay, so we have calculated the labor rate also. Now we have to find the selling price. So let's do that. So I will write here 18301 ही हो कह रहे हैं. बड़ा तेज है ये बच्चा हमारा, मार्किंग स्कीम भी साथ रखते हैं, अच्छी बात है जी। तो इसको बता देते हैं जी, 18301 कर देते हैं। लेकिन ये 889 है यार, 301 कैसे आएगा? इनका डिफरेंस अगर हम निकालें वही आ रहा है। 899, वो मैंने लिखा गलत है फिर, ऊपर गलत लिखा हो। ये ओके, 30899, और ये वही आ रहा है, क्या वाला आ रहा है भाई? 1830। Okay. Okay, now let's find the selling price. We'll start with the direct material. Then we will go with the direct labor. And direct labor is supposed to be included in both the departments, because it is given that direct labor is calculated in both departments, like machining and finishing. So it is incurred in both departments, and then we'll go with the overheads. And again, overheads will be absorbed in both department, machining and finishing, both it will come. Let's see. The direct material given is 4 meter at the rate of 3.85. So you can calculate it for me. 4 meter at the rate of 3.85. G. So what is the amount? 4 into 3.85. So what is the amount? 15.40. Okay. Now we'll go with the direct labor. Direct labor are incurred in machining and assembly separately. If you see, direct labors is 0.75 hours at the rate of 8.9 per hour. 0.75 at the rate of 8.9 for machining. So I will write here 0.75 into 8.9. What is the answer? 6.68. Then for finishing, the labor cost is incurred. 1.5 hours are consumed by the labor for each unit, and the rate per hour is 9.9. 9.9 is the rate per hour. So 1.5 multiplied by 9.9. How much? 14.85. अच्छा, कैसी मजे की बात है। मैं एक स्कूल में पढ़ाता हूँ, जहाँ पे मैंने जो है वो यही सवाल पेपर में दिया था। नहीं नहीं, जरूरत नहीं, यही सवाल पेपर में दिया था, और वो सवाल बच्चों ने, यही सवाल था, और वो सवाल बच्चों से करेक्ट नहीं हुआ, सॉल्व नहीं हुआ। आज मैं करा रहा हूँ, और फिर भी उस स्कूल के शायद एक आधा बच्चा क्लास में है। चलो जो है उनका शुक्रिया जी। टोटल कर लेते हैं, वो भी फ्री है, आई एम नॉट चार्जिंग एनीथिंग। टोटल करें जी, आपसे तो पैसे ले रहा हूँ। टोटल करें जी, क्या आ रहा है? 6.68 प्लस 14.85। 21.53। ओके। फिर आता है जी ओवरहेड्स, आपके आ जाएंगे मशीनिंग और फिनिशिंग के, वो हम देखते हैं जी। ओवरहेड्स है जी, 1 डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर लग रहा है आपका। ओवरहेड्स 0.5 डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर लग रहे हैं, और 0 मशीनिंग में 0.5 मशीन आवर लग रहे हैं, ठीक है जी। और फिर ओवरहेड्स दिए हुए 1 डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर फिनिशिंग डिपार्टमेंट का, 0.75 मशीन आवर लग रहे हैं आपके, ठीक है जी, फिनिशिंग डिपार्टमेंट में। अब ये इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है, याद रखिएगा, मशीनिंग के अंदर ओवरहेड किस हिसाब से चार्ज होंगे बेटा? थ्रू मशीन आवर्स। तो आप 0.5 डायरेक्ट लेबर आवर नहीं लेंगे, आप 0.5 मशीन आवर लेंगे। सो दैट इज गोइंग टू बी 0.5 into rate is already calculated by us, 0.5 multiplied by what was the rate? 8.59, if I'm not wrong. Let me make you see again that the rate is 8.59 per machine hour, and that is 17.22 per labor hour. So let's solve it. कितना आता है जी? 4.3. Okay. Next, now we have to calculate the finishing department, that is 0.75 machine hour? No. We'll go for the direct labor hour. So one direct labor hour multiplied by direct labor rate is 17.22. 1 multiply, yes, लिखना तो है ना, 17.22. That is the way. So the answer is 17.22. So I'll go over with the total. 21.52. क्योंकि अक्सर बच्चे मुझसे पूछते हैं ना, कभी होता है इस तरह कि सर आपका तो गैस आया था सारा, तो सर आपके सब बच्चों के स्टार आए होंगे, तो एटलीस्ट आई शुड हैव सर्टेन वीडियो विद मी अवेलेबल टू मेक यू सी। देखो यार, ये मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, मेरे बच्चों के नहीं है कि मेरे बच्चे मेरी परवाह ही नहीं करते थे, तो कहते थे भाई पाने के लिए। दे आर नॉट फोकस्ड ऑन स्टडीज अनफॉर्चुनेटली। पढ़ेंगे नहीं तो रिजल्ट कहाँ से आना। टोटल करेंगे 58.45, ठीक है। नाउ आई एम सपोज टू ऐड प्रॉफिट इनटू दिस, प्रॉफिट मार्जिन वट एवर यू मे कॉल इट एज। सो लेट्स सी। वो कहता है प्रॉफिट मार्जिन जो है ना, दैट इज 40% ग्रॉस मार्जिन, ठीक है जी। मार्जिन इज ऑलवेज कैलकुलेटेड ऑन सेल्स, but here we have been given the cost. So problem is this, that we have to convert this margin into markup. So 58.45 multiplied by 40 over 100 minus 40, that is 40 over 60. क्या आएगा जी? 14 पॉइंट होगा ना यार, 58.45 into 40 over 60. 38.97. Now I will add it up. You will find the selling price to be quoted to the customer. 97.42. अब यहाँ बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है कि बेटा you need to see this is the selling price per unit. So if the question is, examiner is asking you to find the total selling price, so always remember that you have to multiply this 97.42 with the units. Units are given, my dear, कितने? 12 units. If you will leave this question till here, you will not get complete marks. कितने मार्क्स के अंदर देखें? 7 है ना, 5 देगा वो, क्योंकि आंसर नहीं ना दिया तो फिर वो पंगा। टीचर वैसे देना तो नहीं, काटने ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन क्या करें। तो you will multiply it with 12. So here I will go multiply by 12 units. So this is selling price. So what is the total is 1169 is the total selling price. So this is how we are done with the question. Total selling price we have calculated now. Okay. Next is Alberto is aware that the factory is not currently working at full capacity. In order to secure the work, he has quoted a very competitive price. The new customer has agreed to accept the quotation only if Alberto agreed to allow a 20% discount, immediate settlement on delivery. Advise whether or not he should accept the proposed terms offered by the customer, justified by discussing both financial and non-financial factors. भाई जरा बताइएगा, हमारा जो सेलिंग प्राइस आ रही है ना, वो कितनी आ रही है? अभी आपने निकाली थी, नहीं 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 97.42, ठीक है। इसका निकाले 20%, 97.42 का 20% निकालें और माइनस कर दें। हाँ, तो it means that still we are having a profit. Even if you decrease the price by 19.42, you will be selling it around 78, right? And your cost is 58. You still be having a profit, right? So you should go with that particular customer if he's ready to give us the amount quickly, early, because we can utilize that cash, right? We have less liquidity problem. We can use that cash for some other purposes, but maybe the other customers will feel awkward about it. We may lose our customer because they will say that they should be given the discount in the same manner also. Maybe the quality of that particular product won't be the same. The customer who is offering, we can make them realize. So there is a two different dimensions. तो कस्टमर पे इफेक्ट आएगा, फिर हो सकता है हमें क्वालिटी पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज करना पड़े, पॉसिबल है। नहीं, क्वालिटी पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज तो नहीं कर रहे, कॉस्ट तो उतनी रख रहे हैं,